quickness with which I would book the first flight leaving the country to avoid the conflict awaiting me in that house? Hi everybody, welcome back to our channel and to this series where I dissect TLC's Love in Translation, a multicultural dating show where no one speaks the same language yet everyone hopes to fall in love. If you have been sticking with the series for a while, thank you very much for your support. For those of you who are just now clicking, thank you for joining in. I hope to do your curiosity justice. At the end of the last episode, Trip was building up the courage to ask Jin, somebody he never expressed interest in previously or has any emotional or sexual or physical attraction to, on a date for the next day. And it is slim pickings of the people he has not pissed off thus far. Trip takes Jin to the pool, sits her down, asks her out, and Jin says she likes Khalil.
I don't like to argue. Everyone that dates Trip seems to argue.
Good for Jin. Trip slinks off to his room to nurse his wounded pride and kick back some wine. He spends a good while bemoaning his circumstances because he finally realizes how he's been messing up.
There's really only one woman I see a future with.
He now realizes that Lady is the one for him, so he goes, tracks her down, and asks her on the date for the next day.
Estás Giselle, Lady. Giselle, Lady.
Smart woman.
Mañana.
Mañana.
Dates? English?
Not a smart woman. I feel like Lady is too good for Trip. That's the hill I'm going to die on. Fight me about it in the comments. Moving on to Dylan. He is absolutely all over the place with no game plan. First Tulay, then Sara, then Yam, and then out of left field, he's interested in Juliana. Juliana has liked Dylan from the very beginning, but she hasn't been as forward as some of the other women. When she had her opportunity during the kissing challenge, she let him have it. Dylan wants to get to know her better, so he asks her on the date for the next day.
I think it's apparent that we do have feelings for each other.
Dylan, you're interested in everyone, hush. I guess I can't be too aggravated with him because that's the point of the show, right? To expose yourself to different options, and he is doing that. It's just at breakneck speed. Lastly, we get to see a private conversation between Khalil and Heidi in his room. Because Khalil is also switching up his interests and his options, Heidi is starting to feel kind of stressed out and insecure about the connection that they established.
Japanese? Because no.
I know. It make you feel uncomfortable. That's kind of your culture, Japanese culture.
My feelings are trapped inside me.
Japanese culture is widely recognized as one of the most reserved when it comes to expressing emotions. Japan can be described as a conflict-avoidant culture. In Japanese, this is explained by the concept of wa, literally harmony. Rules, customs, and manners tend to avoid conflict. Japanese society expects people to hide their feelings and opinions in many circumstances in order to keep the harmony safe. As a result, Heidi is struggling with how to express her feelings in a way that maintains her integrity and also respects the culture that she comes from. And it's wonderful that Khalil understands and empathizes with how she is feeling.
Just be ID, okay?
This is the first episode where TLC displayed a sexual content warning beforehand. The moment I saw it, I knew that I was right. Dylan has gotten himself in trouble and it was a wrap. The screen pans over to Dylan's door at 12:23 a.m. and we get a whole unnecessary eyeful of him in his bed getting it on. Not with Sara, but with Jam.
There was a lot of things that led up to it. She found out that I was taking Juliana on a date. She was super upset. She was crying. As she was going to leave the next day, I was consoling her. One thing led to another.
I tried to find this reference while I was preparing my notes for this analysis, but it seems like this might be more of a personal experience than like a widely known bit of crude humor. When I was in my teens, I heard somebody joke about their cheating spouse or somebody's cheating spouse and how they tried to say that they didn't mean to cheat. The person who had been cheated on responded, well, you didn't just slip on a banana peel and end up in that person's bed or other things. This excuse of one thing leading to another, it's not acceptable for me. It's kind of like the banana peel situation. I am glad though that he owned up to his moment of weakness in his solo interview.
I feel like I set that a line as far as some of these women's feelings, especially with Tulay. I've never cheated before. For some reason, this feels like cheating.
He also tells the guys what he's done.
100%, I'm going to tell her. I'm going to tell her straight up because it's a decision that I made.
It doesn't excuse him, but I do indeed respect the fact that Dylan isn't trying to hide anything until
I plan to tell Tulay today after my date with Juliana.
Sir, you really think that leaving Tulay in the house with the woman that you just slept with and hoping that loose lips don't sink ships is a good strategy? Are you mad? Before I have an aneurysm, let's talk about the other dates. Khalil and Imani are up first, and they are going kayaking.
She's really fit, really athletic. I figured, this would be something that she'd like to do.
I don't know where he got that from. In the episode where they were playing soccer as a group, all Imani did was sit in the grass and dance. He definitely misjudged her, and she quickly becomes a pain in the butt.
If you ask my friends to describe me, they'd say I'm annoying.
Imani recognizes that the reason she is single are her personality and her attitude. Her thought process seems to be, this is who I am, I don't have any intentions of changing, take it or leave it. It does make her more difficult to interact with, and we see that in her date with Khalil. Khalil is feeling some pretty instant regret about taking Imani on this date instead of Aidi or Jennifer. Neither of them are vibing romantically, and they both realize that they would be better off as friends. For their second date, Trip takes Lady to a fish market. This is not a fish market outfit.
I would love to experience this with her, picking a fish together, getting our hands dirty.
Absolutely not. But she takes it in stride.
Things are happening in a really beautiful way, but I would like to establish a deeper conversation.
And they do get to have those deeper conversations over drinks. Because this is their second date, Sangeeta gives both of them dictionaries so that they can get further along in their conversation. And Trip actually uses his.
I know what you're saying, somehow.
It was really nice to see them go beyond just physical attraction and emotionally invest in getting to know each other. They had really clear conversations about dreams, future, family, all of the things that you would want to talk to the person you're interested in about. Dylan and Juliana are having a beachside churrasco for their date.
Cebolla? Onion.
Onion.
It's really cute. They get along very well. During their meal, Juliana tells Dylan that she knows Jam likes him.
Quería decirte, invites Jam.
He thinks that she's telling him, I know what you did last night with Jam. The poor thing has no idea what's happened, and she's over here hyping up Jam and saying how she really thinks that Dylan needs to give her an opportunity.
It makes me a little sad to see disappointed because he didn't ask her out.
I can't stop thinking about what's happening back at the house.
Speaking of the house, loose lips are sinking Dylan's ships. Jam decides to tell Jennifer about her nocturnal activities with Dylan.
No quiero que nadie sepa, por favor.
No vou falar pra ninguém. A nadie.
Por favor.
Não vou falar.
She asks her not to tell anyone, and Jennifer swears that she won't on her mother until she does. And Jam walks in the room right afterwards. Giselle switches to giving some really thinly veiled advice about pursuing Dylan and being careful to not be left with the scraps. Jam immediately gets defensive and she insults Giselle. Giselle decides that she's not taking this nonsense, and she goes around the house with her translator telling all the women that Jam slept with Dylan. And Jennifer straight up bald-faced lies about saying anything to her.
No.
Tulay is distraught by the news. And we are left on a cliffhanger. The quickness with which I would book the first flight leaving the country to avoid the conflict awaiting me in that house, I honestly don't know how to feel right now. What's leaving the most bitter taste in my mouth is Jennifer's behavior. I haven't liked her since her first date with Khalil. I think she's immature, I think she's mean, I think she's manipulative, and if Khalil falls for this witch, I'm gonna be upset, y'all. That's all I have to say. What are your feelings on Dylan's mistake? Would you consider his behavior cheating if you were in the house, or do you consider it cheating? If you were Tulay, would you forgive him? Let me know in the comments below. As we always say on our channel, with God, all things are possible, and I will see you next week. Take care.